onto a little bit of freight now. This whole set here are all kit built. I bought the brake van, this one here, off eBay for quite a good price. It's even got opening doors. So that's one up on Bachmann anyway. Bachmann do produce the Pillbox SR brake van. This one is based on the one on the Bluebell. It should actually have a small SR lettering. It's got one on the other side. And also I think it's the vacuum brake cylinders on the top deck there, as you can see, which are made out of Great Western components and bits and pieces of what I made up. I bought this and repainted it, put new transfers on it, and as I said, I think it's a Cambrian kit, so this whole rake of freight is Cambrian Kits. A nice kit, runs nicely, and you can see it occasionally on the end of freight, which I run, but usually it's the other one as well, because I've got quite a few brakes now. This is a 2-plank Southeastern and Chatham Permanent Way Department wagon. The drop side ballast wagon. Again, a Cambrian kit. I got this for Christmas. It took about a day to build it. It wasn't that complicated. All the transfers are from HMRS Pressfix. Wheels are Hornby. Couplings are from Abigail's Spares, which cost about $2.99 for 10. I've got quite a few of them now because I've bought quite a few. The hooks and chains are the other coupling. A little bit of detail there, I suppose. Got to put a little bit of detail into these things. They're actually etched brass from mainly trains. The actual hooks, not the hooks, sorry, the chain, sorry. The chain I actually bought from the Works, which is quite a well-known shop on the UK High Street, and they had a carousel of various chains and bits and pieces, and I spotted this sort of brass, or I'd say actually gold coated or fake gold coated metal chain, I think it is, and that suited quite well, and actually worked quite well with the hooks I bought. This is all painted with acrylic paint, and it's come out quite nicely. Again, the Bluebell, I do have one of these. I sent it as well, I bought it as a present, and I thought, you know, or somebody bought it to me as a present, I should say, and I actually didn't know the Bluebell had one, and it turned out we did, so that was lucky. But yeah, nice little kit to build, quite simple, quite easy, and in the instructions aren't too clear, so I've put these on my workbench as well. But they do provide you with paint numbers from Phoenix Paints to paint your own, but I think they're a lot lighter grey than this one. On the Bluebell it's a lot darker, sort of a granite grey, as it were, or a gunship grey, I think. This is another Cambrian kit, Southeastern and Chatham Railway, a 10-ton ventilated van. In the Bluebell has only got one of these, I think. I have to go and check their stock list. Again, Cambrian kit, same hooks and couplings, NEM couplings, and Hornby wheels, Pressfix transfers again, Humbrol paint on the white roof, acrylic paint all round. A nice kit. I must mention as well, all the Cambrian kits do need bearings on the wheels. The brass bearings are Romford's Diva brass bearings, and again, that will be on the workbench topic. On to Southeastern and Chatham 7-plank wagon, open wagon, all the same as the original and the other ones. Same wheels, same couplings. A nice little kit to build. Again, this is painted in the darker grey. The Bluebell have 2 or 3 others of these as well, so I'll probably buy a few more of these, as they only take 1 day to make. Yeah, they're all painted by myself. Wooden inserts as well, and floors. Again, nice little kit. Bit of a pain in the ass, this one with the the lettering on the sole bar under there. It's a bit of a pain because the brake's in the way, but so an advice to anybody who wants to build one of these, do it afterwards and put it on afterwards, do the transfers first. But again, this is sort of going into the freight. I'm starting to try and build up my freight a little bit to what the Bluebell has, but that's an ongoing project, so I'll probably keep building a few of these. This is in London Brighton South Coast, LBSC open wagon, or a high bar wagon as some of them are known. Again, all the same as the other wagons that I've just shown. This has all the bits to make it, including the wire which goes over the top. Quite good instructions for that one. This is actually not painted, this one. This is actually just primed with Halford's grey primer. It's close enough to it, so I didn't bother buying the paints for this one. The underframe is all painted black. Then all these kits are sort of finished with a matte varnish, acrylic varnish, and you can usually see this one in the freight if that is going around Horsted Keynes or being pulled by Baxter or whatever Loco is on that day. But yeah, that's the start of my run-in with the freight stuff, and hopefully building up a nice little collection. Okay, today in this part of the layout sort of talk through of what I've done and what I've built, I decided to focus on the Loco fleet, or a few of the Locos in particular, which are quite well known or got quite a big following behind them. The Locos you'll see in this are either kit built, or completely kit built, or are ready to run models which have been modified or renumbered, or you can buy kits that you can put on ready to run chassis. But I'll talk you through as we go, and you can also find Loco sort of talk through what I've done individually on the YouTube channel. Firstly, I'll start with the first model. Just roll it in now. Hopefully stop it in the right place. Just about. Right back a bit. Okay. Firstly, most of you will probably recognise this Loco as a Hornby ready to run Battle of Britain class bullied light Pacific. This model was not named and numbered 34059, so Archibald St Clair. This wasn't numbered or named that at all. It was actually 34058, so Frederick Pyle when it arrived. I think I bought it for about £75 off of Hatton's a few years ago, and I went to see the launch of Sir Archibald St Clair back in 2009, I think it was. The history of this model, as I say, I bought it. It had a slightly different tender on it. The first job I actually did was, I didn't quite know at that point how to renumber Locos, and this Loco in particular I had no idea where to get transfers from, etc. So I contacted a friend of mine who actually saw the layout on YouTube, a guy by the name of Graham Muzz, as I call him, or Musprat. And I contacted him. I spoke to him about renumbering and redoing this Loco, and he goes to exhibitions with his layout called Fisherton Surham, which is based on the Salisbury shed, and a very nice layout it is as well. If you see it around in exhibitions, it's certainly worth a look if you're a Southern Railway enthusiast. Anyway, he helped me and showed me how to do the renumbering on this Loco. I then bought the plates and crests from I think it was Model Master, which is sort of based in Scotland, which also included the smoke box door plate for the number, So those are quite easily done. The main challenge on this Loco was the tender. Nobody in the ready to run market had made a 5,250 gallon tender, I don't think. So that was always going to be a problem. But I did actually spot one which was made by Ren, and some people have actually bought the Ren tenders just to run them behind the Hornby Locos. I spotted a guy on RM Web. I don't really post there that much, but I do watch the forum quite a bit. And there was a guy building these tenders up, and I asked him where he got the tender top from, and he directed me to eBay, because there was a person on eBay who was reproducing the old shapes and molds just as blank plastic bodies, which you can put onto the Hornby tender chassis. So I bought the tender body. I think it was for about £10, I think. And I spoke to James because I was a little bit worried about reproducing the colour and shade of green compared to the Hornby's green. So I sent it off to the guy on the RM Web, James, or I can't remember his actual username, but I'll put it in the video if I can find him on there. But he did a brilliant job on this. I paid quite a lot of money on the whole Loco itself. The tender wasn't too bad because of all the bits you had to take off and put back on, and take off the actual high detail body. It was, I can imagine it was a bit of a pain, but James has done an excellent job doing the tender. I've added real coal in the tender as well, just to add a little bit of authenticity to it, but a nice runner, pulls quite well, and a great model of a well-known Loco. Okay, next Loco I'm going to show you is one which is I've actually done on the reviews of various bits and pieces I've done. Again, these are quite popular Locos on the Bluebell, and I thought I might as well build all three of them. They are, of course, the South Eastern and Chatham P class. I just run this one in, which was recently built a couple of months ago. There we are. This is a kit. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you can get kits which can be mounted on ready-to-run chassis, and this is an example of one in particular. This is a Dean Sidings P-Class kit, which runs on a Terrier, Hornby Terrier chassis, or a Daypole Terrier chassis, and it's quite a nice little build. I think these are about £54 for the body kit, but bear in mind when you buy this, you don't just buy for body and have to buy all the extra bits. The guy who owns and runs Dean Sidings, Dave, he actually puts in all the extra bits and pieces, like the smoke box door handle, the handrail knobs, the handrail wire, and all the castings. You get buffer castings. I've changed the ones on this one to Market's sprung buffers. He also adds now the hook for the actual front coupling on the actual buffer beam, which is quite a nice touch, because before, the older ones, they didn't come with one. This one I've actually fitted with Hornby, I think it's a screw link chain coupling, which you can sort of buy as spares, which I sort of buy in the 08 diesel shunter detailing kits, because they have two in them, and when you buy the steam ones they only have one. So I buy a couple of them and fit all my Locos with the coupling chain and hook. I think the vacuum pipe on the front, or steam heater pipe, is actually from Romford or something like that. It's just they're mainly made of brass wire with some wire wrapped around the top of it, which are painted up. The kit itself is quite a simple, straightforward kit. I've painted and done the livery on this one as the Southeastern and Chatham green livery, number 27, which is Primrose down on the Bluebell, which is out of service at the moment. But I thought I might as well get all three done. I've got Nettle, I've got Bluebell, and I've got number 27 Primrose. I actually made this one's livery by going down to the Bluebell back in July and taking photos of sadly only the back of Nettle, because that was broken at the time due to a cracked cylinder or something. And I took pictures of the H-Class, which was in traffic that weekend, and took pictures of parts of the livery and managed to Photoshop sort of the shapes and the lining of the Loco and reduce it to 00 gauge size. I make my own transfers with crafty computer paper. Some of the lining is press fix lining, which is mainly the red lining, and the yellow and red around the boiler barrel. This Loco is fitted with crew and also lamp irons or root disc irons, or whatever you want to call them. They're actually made with split pins which have been bent into shape. A little hole is drilled and then they are glued into place with super glue. Super glue gel, I should say. And the root discs are from Roxy Mouldings. I've painted them up and put the black cross on the ones on the far side there. Southeastern and Chatham lettering and the crest, they're from Fox Transfers, so they're water slide transfers. And also the etched number on the bunker there, you can just about see. That was from I think that was from Roxy Mouldings as well. They do two types, one for the H and one for the P class, which is slightly smaller. But a nice little Loco, runs very well, and quite a nice kit to start off with, really. So I do recommend them. They're not cheap, but you do get a very nice result with them, and you've got all the parts to build it with. And if you're interested in how I built this one, or any of these ones which I'm about to show you, you can find them on my workbench thread on the New Railway Modelers forum, which I will post in the description box at the end of the video. Okay, next Loco I'll show you is a kit built Loco. I came across this Loco in 2010 or 2009 when I was at the Worley exhibition, and I've been after one for quite a while at that point, and then I came across this one on the Southeastern Finecast exhibition stand at Worley, and they weren't actually available to buy there and then, they were still in production. So I'll just run the Loco in and I'll tell you what it is. Okay, I think everyone will probably know what this one is. This is a B4 or XLSWR tank engine. They got one on the Bluebell, as named Normandy, number 96. This kit is a white metal kit. All the body and the cylinders are white metal. I've added a few extra bits to this one to make it as per Normandy is at the moment. The chassis is, I think it's a nickel silver etched chassis, which is quite nice and easy to solder together. It's a little tricky if you haven't built one before, but it's one of the more simpler because the motion is quite simple. I changed a few bits to make it work a little better and to run a little better as well. It's a nice weighty kit as well, so it pulls quite a bit, and as you saw when running it in, it's quite a steady runner. This Loco is actually fitted with a gearbox and a motor from DGH Kits, which it was absolutely enormous, the gearbox on this. I think it's a 50:1 ratio, so it's a slow runner but a smooth runner. It's got a little Japanese motor in it. I think it's a Mishima motor, which I fitted with a flywheel which just about fits in this body. I think there's about 0.5 millimeter between the end of the shaft and the casting of the back head, so there's not a lot of room in these kits to put motors in. It's fitted with Romford wheels. It's also fitted with LSWR sprung buffers. I also made the Normandy transfer by taking the actual lettering off the Bullied Society website. I was very lucky to find it, because I was starting to scratch my head on how to do it when I just came across it and made the transfer of it. And it's come out quite well actually. You can hardly notice it's a transfer. You can just about see it from some angles, but from others you can't really see it at all. Most of the handrails are paper clips. Also with this kit, the handrails and the handrail knobs are provided. You can buy the kit as a whole from fine cast, the motor, the wheels, etc. I sort of bought bits from here and there to improve it slightly to what I really needed, which was a slow, good, steady runner and a good hauler as well. The Loco crew now, you can just about see her from Model Scene, I think they are. Root disc again from Roxy Mouldings. Numbers on the buffer beam are from HMRS Press Fix Transfers. And it's a nice little kit, quite easy to build. As you can see, I built it and it strangely works. And it runs very nicely. It's quite a good looking little tank engine as well. It's a shame Hornby or Batman don't really do little shunters, the 040 dock shunters. They're quite popular. I mean, Model Rail magazine are doing the USA tanks, which took over from these when these were life expired really. So we should be seeing a few shunters coming out now and again, but it's a shame none of these little 040 ones are actually available, because they're quite attractive little tank engines. I do recommend the kit, albeit they're not cheap. I think this kit without the motor and the wheels etc. cost about £75, I think it was. You do get the BR cab as well if you want the BR version. As you can see, this one's sort of in its original condition with a BR chimney, as per the Bluebell one. But you do get a stovepipe chimney if you wish to put that on as well. But a nice little kit, not a cheap kit, but I would say it's quite a good white metal starter kit. The chassis does need to be soldered. I actually soldered it with a normal soldering iron. That's probably completely wrong, and I'll probably get loads of comments criticising me for that, but still, it works and runs very nicely, as you can see. Okay, on to the next Loco. This one has got a bit of a strange story behind it. I was sort of searching for things to build, because I've sort of built most of the Bluebell Locos and renumbered various ready to run models, and I was sort of thinking, well, what ones haven't I done yet? There was a BR Standard 2 conversion that they are just starting to pick up momentum on now, which was converted from a tender engine, which I've actually done from an Ivert 2, which you've probably seen in another review video. And then I thought a little bit bigger and thought, well, I haven't done the Atlantic yet. The Atlantic they're building from spares of I think it's a C1 Atlantic, and basically making the frames and chassis from scratch. So I thought, you know, that will do, and we'll have a go at that one. So I'll just roll my epic build into view. And here it is. This is a H2 Atlantic. Was originally built by the London Brighton South Coast Railway Company. This has got a massive story behind it. The actual body, the main body was from a DJH kit. That's the main Loco body you can see, which is right in front of you. The tender, the main top body of the tender, the sides of the tender was from the DJH kit. But the central section, the coal space and the back of it, was from something completely different. But I'll take you through it anyway. Basically, when I started looking to do this engine, I looked at, I spoke to Dean Sidings, which you've already seen. He was looking at doing a resin body to put on a ready-to-run chassis. And I spoke to him and asked, you know, what's the progress, or what sort of release date are you looking at? And he basically said, I have no idea until a more suitable ready-to-run chassis is available. And I said to him basically, well, what one were you going to put it on? And he said a castle, a Hornby castle, the old daypole sort of type castles. And I thought, oh, okay. So I went and sourced a castle, or various castle bits and pieces, and I actually started looking at it and measuring it up and seeing how I could do it. And I needed the first two front driving wheels, which you can see on this Loco, because they were close enough to do it. So the rear set of driving wheels had to be dropped. So a chassis from a castle needed to be middle driving wheel driven by the motor. The old daypole type sort of Ringfield type motors drove the rear axle, which is a bit of a problem because the spacing was too wide and the front two were perfect. So I managed to get hold of some spare bits and pieces and build up a new chassis, which was basically from I think you can sort of get them now from the Harry Potter range set locomotives, the one with the lighting, which I think is about mid 2000s. So I started to well, I got all the bits for a sort of middle driven Loco, castle Loco. I managed to get hold of one for about 30 quid, and work started. And so the main base of this is actually a castle, a Hornby castle, which was middle driven with a traction tyre on the middle axle. And I chopped the rear wheel set off, shock and horror for all Great Western fans, so you probably don't want to read that thread that I've written about this one. And then the cylinders you can see on there, and the connecting rod and the crosshead are from a 2800 class Great Western Loco. I know, shock horror again, but never mind. And then that was filed down to make the type of cylinder on the H2, and that was wrapped in a very thin plastic card, and that was basically the start of the cylinders. And I had to get measurements and all sorts from various people, and did some scaling up of pictures to make the right sizes, etc. So most of the chassis is Great Western origin. The front bogie was originally I can't remember what that was off now, but it was off a Loco with spacing of a 24mm between the axles. But the original one was binned because I needed more pickups on the Loco. So I went for an L1 bogie. So the bogie on this is from an L1. The steps near the cab, not the one in the middle of the wheels, because that's scratch built by myself with plasticard. The steps on the Loco cab and the tender, they're from an N15. The chassis of the tender is actually still the original Castle one, chopped down and shortened to fit the DGH sides. And the actual main bit of the tender in the middle is actually from, I think it was an A3 Loco with the slightly older tender on. And that was shortened and cut down and used as the base, which is quite a nice use of bits and pieces, because I wanted to keep the weight down on the tender so it wasn't struggling to pull the tender along, because with white metal tenders you've got to be careful with the weight, and if it's too heavy at the back it will hardly be able to pull its own tender. So I went for a sort of lighter version, and the main chassis of the Loco, not the Loco, the tender, sorry, is plastic, so that lightens the load, and the middle of the tender is all plastic as well, and it's only the sides which are white metal, so that cuts the weight down quite a bit. But I needed enough weight to provide good enough contact with the wheels, because the wheels I wanted to create pickups to increase the power and also the pickup of the Loco, because as anyone knows, on install frog points they struggle if you just have a shorter number of pickups on the Loco. All the lining on this Loco is from H. Morris Press Fix. That was from the LNWR/BR mixed freight pack. Went for an early crest on this Loco as well. The numbers are from the BR sheet, Press Fix sheet. The Loco name plate, which is on the wheel splash of air in red, that was purchased from Model Master in Scotland again. Also came with the smoke box plate. The smoke box store plate, or shed code plate I should say, came from Fox Transfers. Roxy Moulding head code discs again. Also toned down a little brass triangle whistle, which you can see just in front of the cab, just behind the safety valves there. The sprung buffers were from Ace Models, or Ace Kits, which a few of the castings came from, which was the Loco chimney dome, safety valves and the back head. But most of the castings came from DJH. They were a bit of a difficult one to get a hold of because I needed to get the codes for all the parts, which was a bit difficult. Also, I forgot the rear trailing axle underneath the cab there. That came off an A4 or an A3, slightly older Hornby Loco, which is cast metal. I replaced the wheel set on this for a nice finer set which I bought from Mainly Trains, as well as the wheels on the bogie as well, because the wheels on the bogie are quite large. I also turned down the flanges on the wheels, the main driving wheels, because being quite old Hornby Daypole, or they were so big they were catching and fouling the point, so I turned them down on a drill. And it runs really nicely now actually. It can pull easily 8 coaches, which is quite incredible considering its first run it could only pull 4, so it's doubled its haulage capacity. So I'm quite pleased with this sort of mad build. Again, if you want to read about this Loco, look on the description below the video and you can have a read up on how it was built and what strange idea I came up with to build it. But I'm very pleased with this one, and people laugh when I tell them how many Locos this was built out of, which at this particular moment in time is 5 Locos altogether from spare bits. All the spare bits are bought from Abigail's Spares because they're cheaper, very reliable, and very quick at posting. So thanks to those guys, and thanks to DGH, even though I didn't quite know what I was up to, and thanks to everybody who made this one possible. Okay, next loco I'm going to show you is probably one of the most small popular locos the Bluebell have. It was returned to service just before the 50th anniversary of the opening of the Bluebell Railway back in 2010, I think it was. But I've had a lot of sort of questions: when am I going to do it? When am I going to build one? And as ever, my answer was, well, when I think of a suitable loco to build it out of, or a suitable idea how to go about building it, I will build it. And one day it magically appeared in front of me what I should build it out of, and I think most people will know what's coming, so I will roll it into shot. Yep, as you probably guessed, this is Captain Baxter. Captain Baxter was made out of spare parts, bits and pieces that I had collected over the years. The chassis of this, most will probably recognise or have seen that it is an L&Y pug chassis. I sadly couldn't get hold of a Hornby one because they hadn't re-released them at the time. They have since re-released them because they were a pain in the arse. Hornby have re-released their one, which is slightly quieter than this one, but this one's a Daypole one, and is slightly more noisy than the Hornby one, but still it's a good little runner. As you can see, I managed to pick quite well this loco, and it actually runs quite nicely. But this was probably one of the biggest scratch builds I've done, really, even though it's quite small, but the sort of way to build it was quite difficult. But I'll go through it anyway and try and explain. It is all written up on my website if anyone wants to go and read about how I came up with this wacky idea to build one of these. Yeah, the main, going from the front, I fitted the loco with Kits BR sprung buffers. I managed to find a photo on the internet of the front of the buffer beam and managed to make the shapes on the buffer beam, and also the colouring of it as well. I managed to add little handles on just behind the buffers, which you can just about see on this. They were made out of guitar string or old pug rail hand wire, I can't remember. The smoke box itself, the actual smoke box door was a spare casting I had, which was left over from, I think it was an E4, the Birch Grove kit that I've built, and the actual smoke box door handle was a spare one from, I think, the LSWR B4 kit, or maybe something else, I can't quite remember. I've used so many bits and pieces on this, I can't quite remember where all of them came from. The chimney was a spare one from my Adams radial kit. The dome on the loco came from the E4 London Brighton South Coast loco again. All the pipe work is just hand shaped from bits of wire. The main cab supports you can see coming down from the cab roof, they were paper clips. The main boiler itself is actually just a piece of tube which was cut down. The tanks are made out of plastic card. I had a little bit of difficulty doing the Captain Baxter name on the tank, so I actually went down there and took a picture of the side tank, or I think somebody else went down there and took one for me. And I made a homemade transfer of the side tank. This is sort of the first time you'd be able to see a homemade transfer I've actually made. This is one of the first. The lining is actually white lining, even though on Baxter it's sort of off white, slightly mixed in with red, so it's off white, but I just went for white lining because that's what was available. I could probably have easily done it by just doing a light wash of red, which has been watered down slightly. That would have been probably achievable. The cab itself and the cab roof is made out of plastic card as well. It's just lightly bent plastic card on the cab roof, and little steps under the cab barrel made as well, handmade from plastic card, fitted with Loco crew. The only downside of this model is because it's a pug, the motor is quite visible from the back. I tried to sort of hide it with some Loco crew, but still it's quite easily seen. But then again, it's a nice little model. I don't think too many are going to complain, but still it's come out quite nicely. It runs quite well, and quite a popular little Loco. And I always get requests asking how I've built this and how I've done this, and it is actually on the website. As I mentioned, there'll be a link at the bottom in the description box. And also, hopefully, this year, 2013, we'll be actually able finally to see this Loco in a magazine. So keep your eyes peeled in Hornby magazine, and hopefully it will appear, because this Loco did win their Facebook competition, which was nearly 3 years ago. I don't really blame the lateness of it being in there, because Hornby magazine have gone through quite a few changes recently and changed publisher, etc. So it's taken time, but hopefully we'll be able to see this in the magazine, and hopefully anyone who follows me on Twitter or Facebook, I'll let them know when it is in there, hopefully. So I hope you've enjoyed me talking or waffling through the kits that or ready to run Locos that I have. The list of them, the whole list of Locos and coaches and wagons is all on the website. If you wish to have a read, please look at the description box, and any questions just ask, and I'll try and get back to you as quickly as I can on the comments.